So these are the different data sections that we have selected from our integration services. The personal data section, worker personal data section, worker status data section, worker position data, contract data, and so on. So let's choose the first one, which is personal data section field. And if you look here, it has a lot of fields that you can choose from. What are the ones we want? First name include in the output. You see this column. It says, include in the output the one right here. Include in the output. You want the first name. You want the last name? What else do we want? Do we want the gender? We wanted the gender. We wanted the marital status. We wanted the marital status. And what else? Let me quickly take a look at the file. We wanted first name, last name, gender, marital status, and maybe the email address. Let's see. Let's scroll down. Let's keep scrolling down. Address information is there, so maybe our email address is also there. Let's find out. Email data. Okay, here it is. Email. Email is public. Email address. So let's include this field in the output as well. We want the email address as part of our output as well. Now, what is the maximum length? If you want to restrict the output data to a certain number of characters, you can define it here. Let's say first name, but my receiving application cannot take more than 35 characters. So, I will put 35 here. That is the maximum length I can allow. So in that case, what will happen? If the name, for some reason, is more than 35 characters, what will happen? It will be truncated to 35 characters. We will not send more than 35 characters if we are putting a restriction like maximum length. But typically we don't have to do that. So if you put 0, that means yeah. Whatever is the data, it will say, no truncations, no limitations as to how many characters can be there. Okay, now did we include all the fields already? We have included these many, but we don't have hire date. Can we scroll down and see if we have hire date here? We don't seem to have hire date. We have email address, but that's about it. But no, not to worry. We have other sections. Maybe it is there in that section. So let's find out. Worker status data. Oh, here we have hire date. So let's include the hire date, original hire date. We have that. Now, what else do we want? Hire date, original hire date is done. Business title. Do we have business title here? Business title. Let's scroll down slowly. Business title doesn't seem to be here. Okay, business title is not here. Okay, so maybe we have to go to the position data section. In the position data, we may have business title, and yes, there it is, business title. So you see, the approach is slightly different from what we did for a report, right? In the report, if somebody asked me to create those fields, I would do what? I just add a row in the report and search for that particular field, right? But here we don't have that option. We have to choose from these data section. Now, does that mean that if we create a calculated field or something which is not in part of the data section, can I not include that? Well, the answer is yes, we can. We'll come to that in a moment. So we have the business title. Anything else from here? Let me see job classification, organization, data, work shift, job profile. Do we need the job profile? No, we need the worker type. Worker type. Did we have the worker type? I'm just scrolling up. Oh, there, it was the worker type. The worker type is included. And then we are going to use some other fields like total annual base pay and base pay currency. Definitely this will not be there in the position data. Most likely it will be there in the compensation data section. So you see total annual base pay is the field there. And we have another one is the base pay currency, right? So, yes, this is some of the fields that we need. Now there are two other fields that we have. One is the workday ID and the other one is the username. So from experience I can tell you that it will not be there in any of these other sections. I can look. I can show you the ID section as well. But you see, it is not here. And if you go to the related person data, it is not here either. But we want those fields in our output. We want the worker ID, the workday ID, and the username. So how to do it? It is not part of any of the delivered data section fields. We have selected all the fields that we could. Now what happens? What if we want to include a field that is not as part of the delivered data sections? Then what we can do is we can go for a custom integration service. So we go to the delivered actions of the integration and we go to integration system and we configure the integration services. We can again go back and configure the integration services. So here you can unselect some of the ones that we are not using. For example, we used personal data, status data, position data, but we did not use contract data. We did not use leave of absence. We unchecked that. And what else? Related person data, we did not use. Identification data, we did not use, so we can uncheck that we no longer need it. But we want a custom integration service. We want a custom integration service now. So let's click on the plus row here. And in the integration service. Just give me 1 second. I'll just copy the name of the integration. So if we create a custom integration, we go to create and we are going to create an integration field override service. We are creating an integration field override. And here you have the given name. So, instead of CCW, what I'll do is I'll mark it as custom. Custom new hires outbound. It's a custom integration that we are creating. And then it will ask you, okay, From which business object are you going to get the data? Very important. From which business object are you going to get the data from? Now, if we have created a calculated field, for example, that one, we were creating the length of service, and from length of service we were extracting the years of service, etc., etc. So we had stored all of those fields in our worker business object. So these are some of the business objects from which you can get the data for a code-connected worker. Background check, contingent worker, employee job, family profile, acquisition, location, etc. So let's say we want it from the worker business object itself. So now what happens? If you are going to add some fields, you can choose any field that is present in the worker business object. That field may already be included in your, like the delivered data section fields, or it may be something that is not there. But if you create a custom integration field override service, you will be able to include any field, any calculated field, any workday field, as part of your integration. Now important question. Let's say you want some fields from the job profile and some fields from the worker business object. Then what would you do? You see the worker. The business object is only one. Right. Then what would you do? We have to create 2 override services, or as many as we need. Maybe we want one from job profile, we want a few fields from location, etc., etc. So you have to create multiple field override services. There is no limit. You can create more than one as well. But maximum, how many can you create? 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean the number of different business objects, you can create one for each. Right. Okay. Typically, we only need one maximum. Now here you see, it is not a drop-down. Here we are not able to select a field. In the integration field, override service. As of now, we are going to create the placeholder. What are the 2 placeholders? Workday ID and username. So we will just create those 2 placeholders. But make sure you do not have spaces as part of the name. Let's create one more.